Roughly 4 years ago, Chevrolet gave us an all-new version of the company's best-selling vehicle, the Chevrolet Silverado. Now, in the half-ton pickup truck segment here in America, the Silverado and the Sierra represent the second best-selling truck, right behind, of course, the Ford F-150. Now, when the all-new fourth generation Silverado came out, a lot of people were actually somewhat disappointed with the overall interior because Chevy just didn't really give us a modern interior that felt worthy of the High Country or the Denali nameplate. Now for 2022, GM is trying to rectify that with the completely revised version of the Silverado. This is a 2022 Silverado High Country, and while the exterior styling has been subtly tweaked, the interior gets a complete overhaul with a much larger infotainment screen and far better technology that makes this truck a lot more of a modern entry. So in the light of new competition, of course, from Ford, from Ram, and the redesigned Toyota Tundra, the big question I want answered, has Chevrolet made enough changes to the Silverado to keep this truck competitive? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the exterior styling changes this year, I want to remind you guys what's going on underneath the hood. Now, when GM refreshed the Silverado and the Sierra, they did discontinue the base 4.3-liter V6. Nobody technically bought it anyways. However, this model here has the top dog engine, which is a 6.2-liter naturally aspirated V8. Now, for those of you who must have a big V8 as your top engine in a half-ton truck, the GM Twins are going to be the truck that you're going to want to buy, because for about $2,200 extra, this 6.2-liter V8 with direct injection, it's a pushrod engine, delivers 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are unchanged from last year or even the 2014 Silverado when this vehicle, or when this engine was first introduced. There's a total of 4 different engines from a 2.7-liter turbo 4-cylinder. I haven't driven that yet, but it did get an uptick in torque this year. And of course, you can take your pick between the 5.3 V8 or a 3-liter inline-6 turbo diesel, which I've driven the other two, just haven't driven the 2.7 4-cylinder. This 6.2 is paired with a 10-speed automatic that was co-developed with GM and Ford. GM, of course, did a lot of the software tuning for this particular application. 4-wheel drive is going to be an option. It's standard on this High Country model. It does have a low-range transfer case and an automatic setting, which is nice. Fuel economy is rated at 15 in the city, 20 on the highway. This truck here should get to 60 in around 6 seconds. We've got our testing equipment. We'll see what we can get in our real-world testing. And this truck can tow up to 13,200 pounds. This particular one here will tow about 9,000 pounds while carrying around 1,700 pounds of payload in the bed. As this truck sits, it weighs in at just over 5,500 pounds. But let's go ahead and close the hood and talk about the exterior styling changes for 2022. Now, when this generation first came out, I wasn't a fan of the design of the Silverado. I actually haven't had a chance to even show you guys a full review on the Silverado until now. But especially if you guys look at certain grades where literally half the bumper is like missing due to a styling element. I'm looking at the Trail Boss or the ZR2. This High Country model is basically Chevy's version of the Sierra Denali. So this is the full-on luxury truck with a lot of extra chrome splashed throughout the vehicle to make it, again, feel a little bit more premium. You can see the grille has the usual Chevy elements here with the yellow bow tie, which you can black that out if you'd like. You can also get it illuminated if you'd prefer as well. There's a very noticeable High Country badge here offset in the grille. Full LED headlights are going to be standard on this trim. I believe halogens still come on the lower trim of this truck. I haven't seen a base model yet, but that's what I saw on Chevy's website. You can see LED low and high beams, this kind of C-shaped LED turn signal, and then down here, you're going to find LED fog lights, very low mounted in the front fascia. This is probably going to get hit if you guys plan to go off-roading. I believe the ZR2 has a unique front fascia that gives you an actual skid plate as opposed to the plastic. The plastic over here with this front air dam for aerodynamics. You can see there are some nice sturdy tow hooks, but on the Trail Boss and the ZR2, they will be painted red. There are some functional and fake vents going around along the front fascia, but overall, it is definitely an improved look versus the pre-refresh model. I also kind of like the bronze trim that you get in the actual grille, but let me know what you think of the styling of this truck. Personally, for me, I think the Sierra is the better looking version, but so for some of you who prefer Chevy, this is also a decent looking truck. You can see 6.2 badge here, although I don't like this badge. It kind of looks like somebody bought it at Pep Boys or Walmart and just stuck it onto the hood of the truck. I don't think it was necessary to show that. But overall, in this dark ash metallic color, which is a new color for 2022, it certainly has its handsome looks from certain angles, especially when you look at the High Country badge. Now, the High Country, like I said earlier, is the top of the line model, and it includes a lot of chrome. You can see this ultimate package basically, or upgrade package, includes the 22-inch chrome wheels, the chrome along the bent line, along the window trim. It's got the power activated running boards. You can see these wheels are definitely an attractive looking wheel if you guys like the shiny polished look. You can see it's a 22-inch wheel. A 20-inch wheel is going to be standard. It's riding on a 275/50 R22 tire, a Bridgestone basically road tire, and this particular model here has roughly 8 inches of ground clearance. If you guys go for the Trail Boss or the ZR2, it'll actually increase the ground clearance by 2 inches, where you'll have nearly 11 inches. That's important if you guys plan to go off-roading. Now, it's got an independent front suspension, live axle at the back. This particular one here also has adaptive dampers. I don't particularly love this huge High Country badge. Again, it just looks like an afterthought or aftermarket look. I also like how the mirrors, you can see they are satin silver, but they're not a shiny chrome, which I think is nice. You can see blind spot monitoring is in the mirror. Above me here, you can see Chevy does not offer a pano roof, neither does the GMC Sierra. So that's kind of disappointing. Most competitors are offering that. And then you can see, look, stepping back, let's take a look at the rest of the profile. This is the crew cab with the short bed, which means you have a 5-foot 8-inch long bed. Chevy does offer a standard bed, which is 6.5 feet. And then if you want an 8-foot bed, you have to step down to the double cab configuration. This one here is going to give you the 4 full-size doors, which most people tend to buy. I believe the take rate is like 60% because it just gives you that kind of practicality. Now, looking at the rear of this vehicle, you can see the design looks pretty similar to the pre-refreshed model. You have an LED combination for the taillights. The reverse light, as you can see, is just an incandescent bulb. LED turn signals and brake lights, another big High Country badge. And then you can see here, you've got 2 dual chrome exhaust tips at the back for that 6.2 V8. Chevy also offers a performance catback exhaust, which this one sadly doesn't have. And then my tester here for around $500 extra includes the multi-flex tailgate, which is the same thing as the multi-pro tailgate that GMC introduced on the Sierra. I also like these kind of steps that you get integrated into the actual bumper, along with this one here having the tow package, along with all the necessary connections. You can see this tailgate isn't power operated like you would get on the F-150 because of the multi-flex system, but it does offer basically traditional ways to open it, where you can see the tailgate itself flips down. You also have kind of like a built-in bed extender here for those of you who want to carry like long pieces of wood in the back of the truck, where it's going to be a little bit longer than 6 feet. You can also basically push this button in sequence. I'm sorry, I always do this the wrong way. Push that in sequence, you can see that will flip down, and it actually gives you a nice little tailgate step over here where you have a little handle there that you can also raise up. This provides a really nice, easy way to get into the actual bed. Some models also offer like a speaker built into the bed. You can see this one does not have that. And then my tester also has the spray-in bed liner. That's kind of the biggest difference between the GMC Sierra Denali Ultimate and this particular model here, is Chevy doesn't offer the carbon fiber reinforced bed that you get in the GMC. Instead, you just have a steel bed with the spray-in bed liner, which I think is honestly what most people need. The carbon fiber bed is nice, but unless you really just want the bragging right for it and you plan to actually put a lot of stuff because the carbon fiber is stronger, most people will be pretty happy with this. Like I mentioned earlier, there's around a 1,700 pound payload capacity. Some trims will carry as much as 2,300 pounds. And then if you're looking for power, this is where GM is a little behind. You just have a 400 volt or 400 watt inverter with a household power outlet. There is some LED lighting, but it's nothing like what Ford offers with their Pro Power on board, which can supply up to 7,200 watts of power. So now that we've talked about the exterior styling changes, let's go ahead and move on to the interior of this 2022 Silverado High Country. The first thing I want to show you guys, here is the key fob for the vehicle. You can see this is the current Chevy key. It includes their intelligent access key. It also includes remote start. It also has a walk-away auto lock feature where you can turn it on and off. But to activate the remote start, just push the lock button here, double tap that button right there, and that will also start the truck up. You also should be able to access the Chevrolet MyLink app if you're an owner of this truck, and that will also allow you to remote start the vehicle. You can also ping it. You can basically locate the vehicle and access maintenance records from your phone. I'm trying to shut the engine off here from the remote. Usually it lets you do that, but for some reason it's not letting me shut off the vehicle. Now, coming up to the door handle, you can see, tap that button, that will unlock the door. And then you can see here, my tester also has the power retractable running boards, which are, I believe are like a $1,500 upcharge. And then you can see as well, my tester has the dark ash or volcanic ash exterior gray with this kind of night shift blue with the black two-tone color combination. That's right, this truck has a blue interior. It's a very dark blue. You can see in the non-lighted area, it almost looks like a black interior with the contrast stitching and piping, the High Country badge kind of painted in or colored in bronze. And then over here on the door panel, you can see it's got that blue color when the sunlight hits it with the contrast copper stitching with the genuine wood accents with the High Country badging. The 7-speaker Bose stereo in this truck sounds a little bit flat. That's one of the reasons why you want to go for the GMC Sierra Denali, is it includes a 12-speaker Bose stereo system. And you can see here, there's a faux stitching material here with this soft touch injection molded plastic, padded here, hard touch plastic here. And then the window controls, they're automatic up down for the front windows. And then for the rear, they're just auto down, but not auto up. You have 2-person memory. And then these seats, they adjust in like 12 different ways. They are heated and ventilated, but Chevy doesn't offer the massage feature that you get on the Sierra Denali Ultimate. So that's another reason why you want to go for the GMCs if you want the massaging seats and you want a little bit more leather and wood and a better stereo system. But getting inside, you can see the step-in is high, so this little running board here is very nice. And then once I climb in and shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk. And then the button to fire up the engine is actually down here. So it's in a different position versus in the GMC. But once I get into this truck, you can see the interior is just a huge upgrade over the pre-refresh model. I mean, this is the interior that should have launched with this truck when it first came out back in 2019. You can see it's got basically 4 digital displays. You got a 12.3-inch display here, a 15-inch heads-up display, a digital camera rearview mirror, and then a 13.4-inch Chevrolet MyLink Android-based infotainment system. It's also Google-based, so it has the voice commands and whatnot. This system here is a huge upgrade over the 8-inch touchscreen that you got in the previous generation of the pre-refresh model. And then in terms of the rest of this interior, it's surprisingly well crafted. You can see the dash is a slightly different design versus the Sierra, where in the GMC the vents were up top, Chevy puts them to the side. I actually like the design of the Silverado more. Now I will say the materials in this truck are solid. You can see it's a soft touch injection molded plastic with the faux contrasting stitching. It is even padded here on this portion over in the upper part of the dash, more of that genuine wood grain. It's hard touch plastic down here. This is where I believe the Sierra gave you a little bit nicer wood, a little bit nicer materials. I'm surprised they went with a cheaper plastic material here. This definitely isn't fooling anyone into thinking this is aluminum trim. It's just kind of a silver painted plastic, and then there's a lot of piano black plastic kind of going around here. I almost think that this area here could have had some buttons or something. This is to adjust your heads-up display over here. And then your drive mode selector is over here along with your 4-wheel drive switch. I like how GM offers an automatic setting. That's something Toyota doesn't even offer. Headlight controls are over here along with the dimmer switch and to control some lighting in the actual bed. Over here you can see there's a little bit of storage right here, which is nice. You can put some things here. It's also a non-slip material. That's something that you don't get in the Sierra. And then with this infotainment system, I've shown you guys this system before in the other reviews that have this new infotainment system. You can see it includes things like wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which you can see here. It doesn't take up the entire screen. I'm sad that it doesn't do that, but it's just a huge upgrade versus the previous pre-refreshed model. The screen itself is really bright, crystal clear. The resolutions are modern. The resolution is modern, and it's just really snappy. I will say that there are times when I first started this truck up that it takes a second for the screen to boot up and to fully give us, I guess, all of its computing power. But once it does that, it is very quick, snappy, and responsive. And then you can see here the multiple views is nice. If you go to the actual embedded Google GPS, you can make this go away and have it take up the entire screen, which is nice. But if anytime you go back to the CarPlay, that pulls up the second screen. If you go to our audio information here, it's going to always have the second screen there. So only in the GPS function where you can actually access the entire display. You can see this is Google Maps. It works really well. It's quick, it's snappy, it's responsive. Really like how quick the system is. It's just basically among the best in the industry. This is really on par with what Toyota is doing in their newest Toyota audio multimedia interface, which is great. Trailer views, you can see this vehicle has multiple cameras. When I push the home screen here, you can access all your different sources in one, all your different settings. You also have some nice dedicated hard buttons over here where you can lower the tailgate. You can open and close all the windows, which is nice. And then over here, when I put the truck into reverse, you can see there's your backup camera with your full 360 camera. This truck is missing parking sensors. It's retrofitted for it, but because of the chip shortage, GM gave us a $50 credit for it not having the actual sensors, but the actual mounting point is there. So you can see here the resolution and graphics are great. GM has been doing a great job there. You have the full top-down view. You can also look at your actual bed view. You can also do a front and rear view. You can do a curb view. You can see the trailer hitch, which is all, again, very important if you guys are actually planning to do some towing with this vehicle and utilize all those cameras. So that's always a nice thing to find. Down here, you can see your trailer brake controllers there. You have heated and cooled seats, a heated steering wheel, which is 2 levels. You have dual zone climate control. A lot of the knobs and buttons feel pretty high quality. I also like how the USB-C and USB-A charging port is right here. You have some storage over here where I can put my cell phone or some sunglasses. This controls the 10-speed automatic. It's an electronic shifter. It's actually the same one, I believe, in the GMC. You can see here, nice, beautiful wood grain, some more storage over here. Trucks are always really good with having lots of storage, which is really important for a lot of truck buyers. You can see a big center console right here with more storage for your cell phone. This is where your wireless phone charging pad is going to be. It actually works perfectly every time I put my phone there, which is nice. Open this up, you can see, you can take this out. It's got a big storage compartment, more USB charging ports over here, and then you also have an actual power outlet there, a household power outlet, which is also nice. What GMC doesn't offer, what Chevy doesn't offer, however, is what Ford has, where you have the shifter that folds down and it has that table that pops out. That's always a really good feature for a lot of truck buyers who plan to actually do some work in the truck. The seats, like I said earlier, these are the upgraded leather seats. They're not quite as plush as what you get in the Sierra Denali or the Denali Ultimate, but I love the way the seats look. The leather feels good. The seats themselves, the padding could just be a little bit softer. Like I said earlier, heated and cooled, but no massaging seats. The head restraints, you can see they adjust up and down, but they don't come forward and back. The glove box, you can see there's 2 of them. There's one right here, and then there's one down there. You can see it's a bin style. It's not, it's damped, but not lined with felt. Overall, some good storage over here. And then you can see, sadly, Chevy still doesn't offer a pano sunroof, but you do get the standard size sunroof. You have some LED map lighting throughout the cabin over here, where you can also open up and close the rear window here via this button. You can see that rear back window does slide open, which is nice. And you can also open up the actual sunroof. The headliner has a woven material, but overall the tech in this truck is really impressive. I mean, aside from the lack of a pano sunroof, this basically has everything that I'm looking for and then some versus its competitors. And then you can see here, I almost forgot to mention, here's the Super Cruise status bar. It also has the indicator light, or the indicator camera that watches your face. The steering wheel itself surprisingly does have a power tilt and telescoping feature with paddles on the wheel. The horn also sounds pretty typical. It doesn't sound puny. This is a big truck. But overall, I can get a comfortable driving position. I've got really great sight lines, really great tech, and the truck feels open and airy, which is exactly what you expect something like this to feel like. Moving to the back seat of the new Silverado, you can see this particular one here is the crew cab, which means we have the full-size rear doors that gives us about 44 inches of legroom. That's on par with everything else in this segment. You can see here when I open the door and look at the interior, the night shift blue is carried over to the back. You have soft touch materials here with genuine wood on the upper portion, hard touch plastic down here, and then the seats themselves, like I said earlier, you can easily fit 3 people across because of the insane amounts of legroom. And then just like the Silverado, or just like the Sierra, you can see there's this really nifty storage area behind the actual seat back itself. It's on the other side as well. You can also fold this down to make the headrest not block your view. And then you can also lift this up. That reveals some more underfloor storage, which is really what you expect in a big truck. But getting back here, you can see the step-in height is high, but there's a nice little grab handle here along with that power retractable running board. Get in and shut the door, you can see there's just a ton of space. There's a reason why so many families choose to purchase a truck like this for your family vehicle, because the floor is completely flat. I can literally stretch my legs out over here. The truck is wide enough where you can easily accommodate 3 people across. And then you can see here, there's this big cutout. So for those of you who have taller friends, you need all the headroom space. It might be a good thing that GM doesn't offer a pano sunroof on this truck. Over here in the back, you can see you have rear seat air vents. You have 2 USB charging ports, a C and an A. And then you can see here, this model does have buttons for heated rear seats, but on the window sticker, it's giving you a $50 credit because of the chip shortage. It doesn't actually have heated rear seats. Now, it is retrofitted, so I believe you can go to the dealer at some point and they can reinstall the heated rear seats. And those buttons will actually work, but sadly now they're just kind of there for show. 2 cup holders, 2 storage pockets, And then over here you can see there's an armrest that folds down and gives you 2 cup holders. So overall, just like the competitors, this back seat is very, very spacious. But if you're looking for features like manual retractable shades or heated and ventilated rear seats, GM or Chevrolet does not offer that, even on the top dog Sierra Denali, I believe. All right, so we are finally behind the wheel of the very extensively refreshed 2022 Silverado High Country. I've actually had a pretty good amount of time in this car's corporate, or in this truck's corporate twin, the GMC Sierra. I think the Sierra was really well done. I like the way that truck looks on the outside. However, the High Country version of the Sierra, or the Silverado, is kind of like the Denali version of the Sierra. It's not quite as high up as the Denali Ultimate, but I have to admit, this is a really nice truck, especially when you look at the exterior with the interior together. But the one that we're driving here is the crew cab with the short bed. So we got a 5'8" bed with the 6.2 liter V8. This is a $2,200 upcharge to go with the V8, and it's the big boy V8. This is one of the few trucks out there you can still get with a nice big V8 as the top engine. So let's go ahead and see what we can get 0 to 60 wise. It's got that 10-speed auto. It's in sport mode right now. We'll brake torque it, which I don't think it likes when you brake torque it, so we're gonna try it again later. 6.31 seconds 0 to 60 there. So that's a really respectable time. But we'll try another run later on, because when you brake torque it, it seems to lag a little bit. In fact, I think the GMC Sierra did the same thing. So my recommendation, if you're trying to get the quickest acceleration time, don't brake torque this truck. But the V8 is quite the willing partner to move this vehicle around. It's got 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. It's got that quick shifting, smooth 10-speed auto, which to me shifts better versus the same 10-speed that was co-developed by GM and Ford that you'll find in something like the Ford F-150. But just keep in mind, this engine has been around for quite some time, and it doesn't have any kind of electrification option like some competitors. But we'll just floor it here again. Nice sound, smooth shifts. 6.44 seconds there, where it's going slightly uphill. I'll try it one more time on another stretch up ahead on this route that also is on some level ground. But, you know, driving this truck back to back with the Sierra, you know, if I could drive blindfolded, I wouldn't even be able to tell that I was driving the Silverado version versus the Sierra. The two trucks just drive so identically. And this is kind of where, you know, some of you wonder, why does GM feel the need to offer 2 different versions of the same truck? Now, the Silverado's been always more the workaday truck. The High Country model definitely takes it to a new level. We've got these upgraded leather seats, which are comfortable, but they're not the softest seats. I've definitely felt some softer leather in the Sierra Denali, or even the F-150. I think the seats are a little bit softer. I do like this kind of night shift blue interior. It's definitely a nice little surprise in a sea of just black and gray interiors. Although the Alpine Umber that you find in the Denali is also a really beautiful interior color combination. In terms of how the truck feels, this one here has the adaptive dampers, so it gives you a decent ride quality. This one's rolling on the 22-inch wheels, which is going to affect the ride. It's going to make it feel a little bit more stiff. GM does not offer any form of air suspension. The Ram 1500 is the only truck that continues to offer that, although the Tundra also offers rear air suspension, but it's mostly just for leveling as opposed to the ride quality. I will say that these trucks feel very modern to drive. They have that nice sound that you get from a V8, which is, again, becoming a dying breed in the segment. But overall, it just feels like a really pleasant, everyday, daily driver. You don't have to be so, you know, akin to driving a big vehicle like this to actually be able to drive it. Although you do feel this car's heft and weight, it weighs in, or this truck's heft and weight, it weighs in at around 5,600 pounds, which is actually a little bit lighter than some of the competition. Which is actually kind of surprising. But overall, I'm very pleased with the V8. It has a really good feel to it. It has plenty of power, plenty of low-end torque. Ooh, there, it felt faster there. 5.87 seconds there, so much better 0 to 60 time. And that pretty much, I want to say, matches the acceleration that I got out of the Tundra iForce Max. Although the F-150 Power Boost is the quicker option still, that'll do it in like 5.5 seconds, which is kind of just ridiculously fast and unnecessary for a truck. making this sharp turn right here, you can see, could use some four-wheel steering would be nice. I'm surprised that these trucks haven't introduced that. But everything's kind of at a price point here. So you kind of have to remember that the luxury brands are the ones that give you, four-wheel steering, although trucks, GM used to have that on the Sierra Denali years ago, like 20 years ago. So surprised they don't have like that quadra steer technology coming back, making its way back. But going around these corners here, this is a big truck, so you don't buy these for its impressive handling, but it's very competent. The ride quality is good. The visibility is also good. The Super Cruise on this truck. Now, my tester has that for a $2,200 upcharge. It works perfectly out on those interstates, those highway roads, where the vehicle actually will keep in the lane for you perfectly. It'll do active lane changes as well, just like in the Cadillac. So this is kind of a game-changing feature. I love the fact that GM offers it on the Silverado. Of course, only on this high country as part of a $2,000 a la carte option, but it's better versus the Ford Blue Cruise system. This is one of the best hands-off driver assistance tech that you can find, and it's really cool that it's on this vehicle as well. The new infotainment system also does a really good job. I love how you can have, the twin screen layout where you have the CarPlay here and then the audio information or GPS to the right of that, where you can kind of change that. You can't make the CarPlay full screen, but the new digital cluster with the heads-up display, it just makes for a much more modern feeling environment that this truck seriously needed. I mean, when this generation first came out in 2019, the interior was practically the same, and everybody wondered, why did GM even bother to redesign the truck if they didn't give us a new interior? This is the interior that the truck should have launched with, and it makes for a much more pleasant and modern feel to the overall drive. But should you guys go for like the 6.2 V8, if you're a traditionalist, a purist, the V8 is a great option. Personally, for me, I'm surprised that Chevy hasn't introduced a hybridized option, electrified option. The best fuel economy is going to come from the diesel powertrain, which has that 3-liter straight six diesel. Haven't had a chance to 0 to 60 test that truck, but I have driven it. It has the same torque as this engine, and let me tell you, it's a great powertrain as well for those of you who want to tow and also get the best range. You can expect basically 5 to 600 miles of cruising range out of that truck. This one here was showing around 400 on a full tank of gas, which is fine, but I believe premium is recommended, but you can get away with putting regular in the 6.2. Most of you are probably going to end up with the 5.3, which I had a chance to drive in a Tahoe a few years ago. I found that engine to be underpowered. So if you're going to go for the big V8, go for the 6.2 for an extra $2,000. And honestly, if you're comparing this with the Sierra, the only reason why you'd want to buy the Sierra is because you prefer the looks of it and you prefer the interior color options. Aside from the carbon fiber roof reinforced, the truck bed, composite bed, the Sierra Denali seems like its overinflated prices due to the badge, but I have to say this high country model surprised me. It's a good deal. It offers most of the luxury and the tech that you're going to want, and that big V8, it gives you proven performance. So after spending a full week with the latest 2022 Silverado High Country, I have to admit here, when I first drove this generation in the form of the Sierra 3 years ago, I really loved the exterior styling of the GMC, but the interior was just such a complete letdown because it looked exactly like the previous generation, which again, this was a full redesign. It just had an interior that felt like the early 2010 area. Now, thankfully, obviously, Chevy and GMC have completely rectified it with this modern interior. It's well put together. It's got relatively comfortable seats. It's got an amazing infotainment system that's Android operating based. It's got wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. It's got a massive heads-up display. It's got Super Cruise. The Super Cruise in this truck is definitely a game changer for me. I love the fact that Chevy offers that for a $2,000 upcharge. And overall, this vehicle with the 6.2 liter V8 offers proven performance. 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds is pretty respectable. A little bit slower versus the electrified options in the Ford and in the Tundra, but quicker than the Ram 1500 with its 5.7 liter Hemi. The ride quality I also thought was pretty acceptable. The adaptive dampers do a great job of controlling the ride, and even though I didn't have this truck loaded up with stuff, it still had a pretty good ride quality. The interior also has plenty of space, especially in the back seat. It's right on par with all of its competitors. And in terms of the bed, I like the multi-flex tailgate, but I really wish that GM would offer an electrified option, better power on board like what F-150 offers with the Pro Power on board. And the design of this truck for me is not my favorite. So personally, I would probably choose the GMC Sierra. But this is where I feel conflicted, because when I start talking about the pricing of the Silverado, this truck is around $34,000 to start. It's about $1,000 less versus the GMC Sierra. This particular high country model starts at around $60,000. And then when you add in the options that this truck has, like the Ultimate package, or I believe they call it the Reserve package, along with the V8s, the upgraded infotainment system and stereo and whatnot, and the wheels. This one here comes to around $72,500, $72,500, which again, expensive vehicle, but it's about the same price as the GMC Sierra Denali. However, if you guys go for the Denali Reserve, the Ultimate Reserve package, whatever, that one there is around 82 grand. And I have trouble justifying the extra $10,000 that GMC is asking for the Denali version. Now, the Denali obviously comes with the brand cachet, but for those of you who really like the Chevrolet Silverado, I was actually genuinely surprised with how good this truck is in the high country trim. If you're looking for a luxury truck that's a little bit less expensive versus something like the F-150 or the Ram, and about on par with the Tundra in the capstone trim, you should definitely put this truck at the top of your list, because it has one of the best infotainment systems in the business, and it also has that lovely 6.2 liter V8, which makes all the right noises and provides really good performance for those of you who must have a V8. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2022 Chevrolet Silverado High Country. If you're also looking to see the latest trucks I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.